we can do to help you is so in your section, it's go to Facebook.
Yeah.
That's what we can do to help you with this.
Yeah, if you see it, or you go to our St. George page,
Anything else? No, that's what.
like it and share it. I mean,
of all of your stuff.
Oh.
What we can do to help you with all this.
Yeah, I think that's probably the
If you want to do a new website, that'd be great.
yeah. It's gonna be a while before we get a new
It's a
website.
better website.
Okay.
We're gonna keep this one around.
Make it.
So like 6 months.
Yeah, for at least like 2 weeks.
So, you may have noticed, you may not have noticed, but we are trying to have a new thing as you enter our church on Sundays, and that's a little greeter program. Well, we only greet people we want to stay. This is what we are going, well, first of all, when they come up, the greeter will be engaging these people to see, one, are they just visiting Orthodox, like the 4 people we had here today, they were Antiochians from San Diego? Or are they checking out the church because they got some mailer, or they want to come tell us how horrible they're offended by that mailer, whatever it is. They'll be coming, and so the greeter's position is first to kind of assess and see where they're at. And then from there, if they are a first-time greeter, they'll be getting, or if they're a first-time visitor, especially Orthodox inquirers, they'll be getting this packet. This packet is their information. Kenny, who was it that said, I'd always give somebody some of my literature? It was the communist thing, that quote we were talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? No, so like this guy was saying, he said, I came to your church and you didn't give me anything. And I believe he was a communist. And he said, when people come to my communist party meeting, I always make sure they leave with literature so they can read about what they were there for. Now, of course, we're not communists, but the idea is...
You're offended. You're in the hole.
Only if you don't like communists. This is what we're giving them. So,
That's the communist booklet?
this is the Communist Manifesto. Yeah, we did a Cliff Notes version of Linsky's thing. Anyways, they will be giving them things. They'll be greeting them. They will be bringing them in and finding them a place to sit. So for those of us who do sit on the edges, we're hoping to push people toward in, so we have places for them to sit. But not just that. The big job of the greeter is to get them to sit with one of our, we're going to call them mentor families, people group, whoever it is. And that this can be you. You can be volunteer to say, I want to specifically be targeted to sit with a new person to help them, guide them through the service. Okay, so their job, so the greeter's going to greet them outside, bring them inside, give them some information, bring them inside, and then find a place to sit next to somebody who's one of the volunteered mentors. That mentor then is responsible for walking them through the service, doing the whisper thing if they're looking confused. Also, at the end of service, it is that mentor's job to make sure those people have a personal invitation to coffee hour. And then to take them in, introduce them to people who you think they might be interested in meeting, sitting with them, having coffee with them, getting them through the line, hosting them like you would if somebody came to your home. You're really going to be the host family for these people. And it gives them a connection with somebody to right off the bat, rather than sitting in the back and feeling awkward, not knowing anybody. Gina and I were talking about this during lunch, kind of in reference to some of the things he was talking about, like how even Gina, who travels and goes to churches when she's traveling, will walk in and nobody will ever say hey, or hello, or oh, are you new here, or anything to her. And that's what we don't want to be. We want to be the place where we see somebody new, and we as a body envelop them with love, and I guess just being good hosts.
But not too pushy.
But make sure you push everything down the throat. They'll have to be baptized before they get food.
And don't say I was born again.
Right. Are you born again or are you Orthodox? No. No, the idea is just to be very welcoming and open and help and enveloping. So that is what we're going to do. So let me make sure I hit all of the points that... Give them the welcome packet, give them the mentor through the service, and then eat with them and introduce them to other members of the family. Once inside of this packet, so that's kind of the route that they will take. They'll come in the church, they'll be welcomed, sat down with the host family, the mentor family, and then taken on and hang out within there, right? And we kind of see we didn't do that very well with these folks today, because even if you're visiting from another church, we want to make sure that they feel welcome to come to coffee hour, and this isn't just a thing. Yes?
So I did ask them if they would like to come to coffee hour.
Wonderful.
And they said they had to leave. And, so they
So you gave them the invitation.
They were invited,
Good.
but they really needed to go, so.
And that's going to happen
Yeah.
regularly. Yeah, that's going to happen. We just want to make sure we're inviting people in. So I'm going to go through these cards now. So if you want to pull out your cards in your pamphlet, not the trifold and not the booklets. Just the 3 single cards. The first one, so first one that I will put out here is we got a little basic church etiquette thing. It's the purple one. There's just basic things to help them feel less standouty, less awkward. It's kind of like if anybody's seen that 12 Things I Wish I Knew Before I Came to Orthodox Church pamphlet. It's a basic version of that to hopefully help them kind of assimilate and not feel like they're standing out like a sore thumb. We want them to feel enveloped. Yes.
But I don't know, I find the title of that seems kind of like this is what we expect you to do, sort of, rather than the more kind of passive things, I wish I'd known about the Orthodox Church. I don't know, maybe I'm just like being like, I'm just projecting
Yes,
kind
you
of
are.
neurotic thought.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
You mean the title of church etiquette?
Yeah.
Yeah, church etiquette, like you must stand up straight or you're going to hell or something like that.
Well, that's in the fine print. Going to hell is in the fine print. So we're hoping they don't read all that far. The hope is to make it more welcoming, and not the.
I mean, it's already printed, so I
Yeah.
guess.
No, but Colin, we've actually, in general, if you notice, typos or different things that are errors on these things, and also stuff like that, suggestions. We didn't print, like how many did you print? 50.
Oh.
And so when we print them again in the future, we can make.
Is it the word etiquette that you don't like? You don't like the word etiquette?
Yeah. I think that especially for more kind of informal people, like when I came to the Orthodox Church, I was wearing a band shirt. I dressed as grungy as possible. I was like, judge me.
So like,
Ouch.
How do you know?
Yeah, huh?
So I don't know. I think I would have been like a bit taken aback by church etiquette.
It'll
And
make
said,
you feel a little
oh, they're giving me
But I mean, it's
rules
similar to like
already.
when you go to a
I'm just
monastery.
visiting.
When you go to a monastery, there's expectations, We just want to know that there are some thoughts that say, hey, here's some things to make sure you're.
That's why I
worshiping and
suggest that
not-
inquirers come to the parish first before the monastery.
That's a good point.
Because
Yes.
then they try and put a dress
same
on my
thing.
mom.
Don't do that.
Like,
So anyways,
you can't
yes.
wear pants here.
We can, if we want to talk about changes, we're definitely open to that. We're printing small batches so that we can grow this and perfect it as we keep building these packets. Okay.
There have been a lot of them that were shorts that come to church.
So we're working slowly to love people, but we want to love them first and then help them come into the faith and to the experience and our culture. We have a different culture. This is our Orthodox culture we are bringing people into, and so this is a first step in helping them with that. I'm going to jump to another one because I found my order of operations here. First, we have a card here. And this is about St. George Church of Prescott, so it has Father's information, it has our address, it has our email, it has our website, our service schedule, all of our basic information that people can engage with us on. And that's going to be in their packet so that they can reach out and find out more once they visit our church, okay? On the back side, and this is something else that our mentoring families are going to be thought to do in our greeter team. Right now we have about a 5-person greeter team that's always welcome to be expanded. Anybody who wants to be a greeter, we love that service. But this is the church tour. So it's going to be kind of a thing that they're going to have something saying, hey, if you want a church tour, so like after liturgy, they can kind of get a little tour of what's going on in here. Of course, for us Protestants who converted, I came in here and I was just overwhelmed. I come from a very plain box of a church to something so ornate. I don't know what's going on. But every time I learn about why things are the way they are, I fall in love a little bit more. So that's what we're hoping with that, is we can tell them a little bit about the church, and they can kind of get an idea of what's going on with the icons, what's going on with the chandelier, candles, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's going to be in there. So with this is an invitation for them to come up to any one of you and ask for a church tour.
I don't even know everything in the church.
You don't have to know everything, just the stuff you do know. This isn't going to be like a 6-week education on liturgical practices. It's just a little introduction, okay? So that's going to be that. And if you see new people, ask them if they want to hear more about what's going on in the church. Then, on the back side of the etiquette card, going back to that, is this icon of Christ and the children. We want to know, as Kenny was saying, we're targeting families. We're targeting families to be this current demographic that we're reaching out to with this marketing campaign is going toward families. So they're going to be bringing their kids. And most of these families have not come to a place where they don't have childcare during church services. Most Protestant churches, I don't know, I assume Mormon churches do. I don't know about Mormon churches. But anyways, they're coming from a place where maybe they haven't experienced that. But so we want to let them know, hey, your children are welcome here. And we are going to hopefully help you with it. It's letting them know that although we do want, hey, if things are getting crazy, step out, but also let them know that the little noises aren't going to really bother us. We're going to understand that the transition time for a kid is going to be a lot more than it is for the parent who's able to read the etiquette card and go, okay, here's my checklist of what not to do, what to do. The kids are going to take an education process. Right, Ben? It's going to take an education process. It's going to take time. And that takes us as a parish, as well as the parents. I mean, it is probably harder on the parents than it is on us, because they are freaking out that their kid just made a noise. So becoming a welcoming parish, we want to envelop them, help them out, assist them, whatever they need. Make them feel welcome and their children. So that is what we got that in there for. The last card is on the back. They have this thing, it's their information. This is going to tell us where they saw our information at. Is it the Facebook ad? Is it the other thing? So this is going to help us with our tracking to deliver to Leadership 100. But also this is going to give us their information so we can keep in contact with them, so we can send a thank you note or something like that when they do visit our church. That's going to be that. And if they fill that out and they take this into Ann in the bookstore, everybody knows Ann Lunsford over in the bookstore, they will have the choice to pick out one of 8 books that are kind of intros to Orthodox information. One's on specifically for women who are looking into Orthodoxy. One's on like The Orthodox Way by Timothy Ware, some other titles like that that Father and Kenny have put together to be kind of a first touch for people to read. And they will get that book as a gift. Now here's a special thing about this gift. This is where you guys come in. Again, we are going to be encouraging you to go buy one of the books. We're going to ask for $15. Our books range from like $12 to $20. We're going to ask for $15. We want you to take that book off the shelf and write a welcome note in that from you to that visitor. This is not Sunday by Sunday. This is just next time Ann's in there, you can go do this, and then she'll take that book and put it back on the shelf. And then when the people come in and they say, hey, I want a book, they'll take whichever book interests them the most, and there's going to already be, hey, visitor, welcome to our church, the Scott family. A little greeting, thanking them for joining us and participating with us in worship. So that's what we're going to do. Now, what we're going to do with that $15 is just turn it right back into more books. So this is going to be the cycle year-round of every time a book goes out, somebody donates another $15. So just kind of get it in your head, like maybe on a monthly basis, bi-monthly basis, go buy a book, write a note in it for a visitor. And then we'll just keep a stock back there of books with notes in them. And those are the ones that the visitors will be getting out. Does anybody have any questions about that? That's kind of an involved process for you. Anybody got questions about that? No? Okay. Beyond that, that's me. So anybody have any questions about any of the cards, any of the greeters process, how to become a greeter, blah, 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 blah. Anything? Oh, yes. Okay.
I confuse these like, so basically you're giving them 2 books, one that you pre-sign, and then the other one they pick up?
No, the one that we pre-signed are going to be the ones that they pick out. So they get one book when they turn in their visitor card.
Oh.
And so we have all donated to those. And Ann has those books in there right now. So we, of course, fronted the first batch from the budget, from this outreach budget. But then we want that budget to continue to replicate itself forever in perpetuity. So they get one book.
So at this point, even though it was already bought, and already here, and already on the shelf, they're blank. If someone wanted to go today and donate $15 or $30 or $45, they could write in the existing books.
You
that we
signed
have.
3 books. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that $45 will go to buy more books.
And then after you guys sign them, they'll be worth that much more.
Absolutely. Yes. Any other questions? What do you think? I mean, Kenny put all this together. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Also, guys, know that these are like $15 a packet. This is like we are really wanting to invest in our visitors to say, hey, we love you. We're going to give you books. We're going to give you information. We're going to hopefully make you feel welcome through the cards with the children and the other things. We want them to feel loved, and we're putting our money in that place. Okay? All right. Next up is Father.
Father, I have this.
Yeah.
They already started with us.
You're done. Are you done yet?
Timer's up. I'll be back.
So what am I, well anyway, so this very briefly, this is another element of the visitors packet that's in development.
Some of you have them, some of you do not.
Yeah.
We only printed out 10 of those.
So Laura, I think you have one of these, right? The liturgy book? Yeah.
So
And,
it's a liturgy guide, but not all of you have them in that.
So what we tried to do is just, this is it's a copy of the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, but it has a lot of footnotes in it, and also scripture, biblical references. So for instance, we say the Great Litany every week, and there's tons of scriptures that are packed in there that we're referencing when we say it, and so they're just written there so people could look them up if they want to. And then also there's just a lot of footnotes about different things, like the prokimenon before the epistle, and people see that word and they're like, what is that? And so there's a footnote that explains what a prokimenon is and why we have it. And so hopefully this will help visitors as they're kind of following along with the service. And it's a work in progress. It's still not, like I said, we did kind of like a small run of these, and then I'm going to add more notes, and we'll kind of add to it over time to make it better. And then we have another booklet, Questions about the Orthodox Faith, which again, these are, like Kenny was saying, these are a lot of the questions that you would find. Most people coming from some sort of Christian background are likely to ask these questions if they've come to visit an Orthodox church for the first time. And so there's a lot of questions in here. And so for instance, what are icons? That's one of the questions. And do you worship Mary? And so it's just very briefly we answer those questions to say, no, we honor Mary, we don't worship her, and all this, So these will be really helpful for people as they come in. The third step that Kenny was talking about, in this whole process of guiding people into the church and stuff like that is building relationships with them. And one of the things, actually, it was one of your podcasts, I think, Adam, about coffee hour.
Yeah.
We interviewed Father James Corderas about the value of coffee hour, and as a time where you can reach out to people. And then, so the main thing to remember is that, so you're here at the Divine Liturgy, and we receive Holy Communion together. When we enter into the coffee hour, that really is a continuation of our fellowship here within the liturgy and the Eucharist. It's not like that fellowship suddenly stops, and so you need to all of us need to think of that time that we're in coffee hour, one, as an extension of the liturgy, and then also as a time that we're trying to embrace people within the body of Christ that have been here, that have never been here before, and are really confused about what's going on. And so it takes, I forgot his name, the priest in the podcast.
Father James Cordero?
James. I was going to say John. But, so one of the things that he talked about, and you'll notice that I try at this. I think perhaps he's a bit more of an extrovert than I am. But he talked about like how as the priest, when he goes into coffee hour, he never sits down. And because he needs to be around, like mixing with people, seeing how they're doing, stuff like that. And I go back and forth between doing that.
He was also saying that it's not just your job, it's our jobs to be bouncing around.
Well, see, and so that was the point. Is that you see, he's doing that kind of leading by example within his community. But what he was saying is that really within our parishes, we all need to be like that. There's plenty of times, like many of us get together during the week for different things. There might be people in the parish, like for instance, I have an interest in iconography and painting, and Colin has an interest in painting. So he's come to my house before, you know what I mean? And other Colin. And to talk about those things, and about iconography and stuff like that. But coffee hour isn't really the time to be doing that. And because we are here at the liturgy, and there are visitors here, there's people that feel excluded and don't know how to fit into this environment. And so there's other times during the week that we get together to share our common interests, and that's good. That's totally, it's a very important part of parish life for people to get together outside of the church because they happen to, like to talk about art, or something like that, or they happen to have the same kind of business interests even. And but, like I said, coffee hour isn't necessarily the time to do that. We need to think about it more as an extension of the liturgy and as a time to welcome people that look like strangers. Because you'll see them, you'll look around and you'll see, people that are kind of just sitting by themselves and they really look like they don't quite know what to do, And so I encourage you, to take the time to walk up to them and say, how you doing? Where are you from? What brought you here today? And sometimes, the other week we had there was a very interesting response really to some of that stuff. There was a guy who, he had a lot of very definite reasons and that he felt like he was here. He was telling me all about it. Yeah, he was a prophet. So it was, so you run into that sometimes too.
Wait, I want to hear more.
He was
about
kind
this.
of I don't know, I guess a self-appointed prophet. So.
Me too.
But,
it was fun, yeah.
yeah, that's. Yeah.
I knew you would say that.
That was today.
Yeah. That's why I was here. Yeah, he's not really a subdeacon. He's just. He likes to wear a cassock though. So.
I found this back there. So.
But are there any questions about that, or even comments?
So those two books that are welcome, that liturgy book, that's something they're welcome to take home? They're welcome to
Visitors.
Yes.
Yes. So these first-time visitors, when they take, the liturgy book will be in the packet, so that's something they take home. That's theirs. They can keep it. And then, well, you notice we've always had those paperback Divine Liturgy books that people can take. It says it right in the front of it. You can take it if you want it. And we're transitioning though, where we're going to have liturgy books that are hardbound that we don't want people to take home. And so we'll have this instead, that will actually specifically give to people that are learning about the faith to take home. Because one of the things I'm wary of, actually, it's off topic, is as Orthodox Christians, it's not the greatest thing to have our noses buried in books during an entire service. Which part of that, the more that we attend services and become familiar with them, we don't need to do that because we have an idea of where things are going. But so it kind of shows a sign of, in some cases, of a lack of understanding of the service itself. And so as we grow and mature as Orthodox Christians, ideally, we don't need a book anymore. Priests and deacons, people that are serving, like we always have a book. Because there's always a chance that your mind will go blank and you get lost. And so you need to be able to, recover from that. And also, in some ways, it's a matter of humility. You're not standing up there like, oh, I just got all this memorized. It doesn't matter. And but it is the case that the more that you participate in the services, you really do eventually, essentially, have large portions of these services memorized. And so walking around with the book, it communicates something. It communicates an unfamiliarity and a lack of understanding, which is not good. So we need to move beyond that. But we definitely want to have a book, like a reference book of the Divine Liturgy, especially for somebody who's encountering the liturgy for the first time, so that they can follow along in the service and then later take it home and actually read all of these notes, explaining these different things that we do. And I'd actually like to, I think it'd be nice to make these things available to parishioners as well if they want to see it. Because there's always something, even when I was writing it, the footnotes and things, there were just aspects of the liturgy that I never really thought about before. And then I would go and research, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's fascinating. So, any other questions? Maurice's Presbyterian's telling me to quit. Sure. This is your last chance. All right, thank you.
Now, if you guys move it up, please.
All right, this is going to be 2 minutes.